All right, welcome everyone. Class is in session. My name is Professor D, or you can just call me Dawne, and I'm joined today with Austin Perine and his father, TJ. Thank you all for letting us take up some of your time. And also, I just wanted to say that we are creating a space. One of the themes is celebrating Black boy joy, right? Us Black men in here. And we also want to create a space where we are talking about different things and how we survive and how we make it in life. And some things that might not be on the curriculum in our everyday society, allowing people to see how we celebrate us, especially in this time of cultural differences and a cultural shift. And so we're just going to talk about the homeless culture, double consciousness, and dive into what you all have been doing and making a great change and an impact among people's lives and how that's been impacting your lives as well. So jumping right into it, if you all also want to introduce yourselves, and we can go ahead and get started. Tell us something about you. What should we know?
I'm TJ Ryan. I am Austin's father, and I help facilitate some of the things that he does in the community, as well as some of the things he does as an actor, singer, and educational influence as well. I have Austin here with me. I'll let him introduce himself.
Nice. Hi, Austin.
I am Austin Perine. I am 6 years old, and when we go back to school, I am going to be in first grade.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's huge. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to dive right into, because I hear you all do a lot with the homeless community and feeding. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So a couple years ago, when Austin was 4 years old, we were watching television, and there were some pandas on Animal Planet, and Austin saw that the mother panda was leaving her cub, and he became concerned. And I'm sure you guys out there have toddlers. You know that when a 4 year old asks questions, they typically don't let go. So he wanted to know why the mother panda was leaving the cub, and I said, well, that's just what they do. It'll be homeless for a while.
Hmm.
And so when he heard the word homeless, that kind of triggered something in his mind to want to know more. And so I promised him that I would take him to see what homeless people look like. As a 4 year old, he held me to that promise, and then the rest was history. I can kind of let Austin expound on what happened when we went out there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Austin. So when you started interacting, and was it you feeding the homeless? Did you want to just get out there and see what was happening in the world? Tell me what your experience was.
Well, when we went out there and I saw them, they looked sad, and so I wanted to feed them
Nice. Okay, so what did you feed them? What'd you give them to eat?
chicken sandwiches.
Ooh, chicken sandwiches. Nice. Okay, so did you all go and purchase chicken sandwiches? Were you making them from home?
We went to Burger King and purchased them.
Oh, I hear Burger King got some good chicken sandwiches. And I also hear that you all have a message as well that I see on your shirt showing love. So what is that about? Tell us about that.
Well, it means don't forget to show love
Oh, okay. Don't forget to show love. How did you come up with that?
because I was just showing love to them.
Just showing love to them? Okay. All right. And so as you start to show love, how did the community, the homeless community, respond to that? Were they happy? Did they feel seen?
They were happy and they said, "Thank you, little man."
Okay, awesome. And so I also want to know, how has this made you two, father and son? I am huge on breaking down the mythical Black father, that we do exist. And it's awesome to see you are raising your son as a human being that can care for others no matter who they are. So, what has that bonding been like for you, TJ?
It's been a very, very inspirational experience. When Austin and I started, again, we just started with chicken sandwiches. And it was a learning experience for me as a father because Austin didn't see color, he didn't see gender, he saw a problem and he wanted to fix it. And in the world that we've been living in, the narrative has been single black mother or young black man, no father around.
Yep.
And that just, it was something special to me to know that I could be a part of something that could be trend setting for our culture, be inspirational for our culture, and to show other fathers what the positive benefits can be if you stick out the tough times. Because we all know that, relationships are tough, co-parenting is tough, and those are some of the barriers that keep African American men from being involved in their kids' life. This is fortunately for me, child number 3. So I've been blessed enough to give Austin the edited version of me, the more polished version of me. Okay. And it's just an honor to be a symbol of hope for the culture of African American fathers.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you for that well put answer. And I just want to say as well, this message is important to me because throughout my experience, I've been homeless 4 times in my life. And yeah, I was 7 years old the first time I was homeless. And now I'm in my doctorate program in academics and, a whole professor at a college, And so I want to say to you all that this touches close to home to me because I like to give back to the culture as well. But just to see people who look like me and create a space and show that we are very compassionate and in empathy, because it's very true a lot of times in our books of learning, there are people still in certain parts of America that believe that Black people feel less pain, that we are not as human as the rest, and it's very, very unfortunate. And being in a doctorate program, I've had many great experiences, but I find myself still having to educate on homeless culture and saying, don't judge anyone a book by its cover, because you never know their background and what they're trying to go through to change their life, because that's what academia has been for myself. So I appreciate you all so much in doing this. And so another question, just something fun to throw at you, Austin. I just want to know, what is your favorite superhero? Because I see you got a cape on and I think that's awesome. I'm into superheroes, So what's your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero is myself.
Yourself? Okay, yes. Celebrating Black boy joy. Okay, that's amazing. So what would be your superpowers? What would you call your superpowers?
Chasing bad guys out of schools and feeding the homeless.
Okay, I like that. Chasing bad guys out of school. And what has your school experience been like so far?
It has been pretty hard.
Okay. What's hard about
it? Math.
Yeah, I understand that. Definitely. I definitely understand that. Okay, math is tough, but we got to stick it out. What else? Okay, so then tell me one thing you love about school.
I love recess.
Recess? That was my favorite time too. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, So what do you do at recess?
We go outside. We have a slide. We have something we can climb on. We have a zip line.
Okay, nice. Oh, you sound like you were at a nice school. We didn't have a zip line.
Yeah, we did.
Right. That's pretty awesome. Awesome. Okay.
And so, I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Dawne, because Austin is a suburban kid. Okay. However, what we do to balance things out is I'll take him to the inner city so that he can get the diversity he needs. Mm-hmm. Not only the diversity he needs, so that the inner city can get hope, so that the inner city can see that if you are consistent and if you are diligent, then good situations can happen. And so a lot of times I have fathers that pull me to the side to ask questions about my parenting, about how I coach him from a sports perspective and different things like that. So I'm not the dad that sits out in the suburbs and paint this pretty picture without getting our hands dirty. We go into the inner cities and we communicate with parents, with kids. Austin goes to different schools and he actually tells his message of showing love. He has a book out, for a children's book, that actually explains it in a kid's point of view on what he was thinking when he decided to take action. So these are some,
because that's literally on my list of questions. I wanted to know, what books are y'all reading? And I'm glad you say he has a book out. So please share with us what book he has out.
So he has a book called President Austin, and that book can be found on his website. It's called presidentaustin.net. And that book tells about the day he decided to feed the homeless. And it also tells about some of the things that happened after he decided to do something kind. So it's just something that's inspirational for kids, so that they can see that, one, random act of kindness can turn into being on the Steve Harvey show, being CNN's most inspirational kid, and being here with you guys to just kind of tell our story. So it's been cool.
This is absolutely amazing. I will definitely use you all in my lectures of example. I'm always trying to mix it up, and I'm glad you bring in diversity because that is very important on my list. And so I wondered when asking about his school experience and what that is like, does he have kids that look like him? Because a lot of times for our young men, one, we don't have a lot of professors. I get it all the time. You're my first Black professor, and that's just across all races, not just my Black students, that the few that I do get. And so does he get to interact with, do you have Black teachers? Do you have Black friends? Do you get to celebrate that? Or is it just, do you go in the city to keep introducing him to that? What is that?
So Austin is an extreme athlete. So that's one thing that he's got a lot of different folds to him. He's an athlete, he's an actor, then he's also the philanthropist. That's what kind of educated you guys about reaching out to us. But so with sports, we're able to get the diversity he needs. Now, as far as school, you have any brown kids in class?
Caden, Jillian, Aiden.
So 2, 3?
Yeah.
So 3 out of maybe 20. So we're still looking at being a minority here in the suburbs. But again, on his baseball team, it's 100% African-American. So he's able to, get that diversity that he needs and kind of understand how our culture is and how some of our culture have to use sports to get an education.
Yes.
So, I was fortunate enough to utilize football to get an education to be able to put him in the suburbs. Good. So I want him to see that, hey, this is not just something we're doing out here, and it's our area is Hoover, and it's outside of Birmingham metropolitan area, but this is not just something we're doing out in Hoover. These kids, are you Hoover good or are you Birmingham good, if you will? So these kids are really, quote unquote, getting it out of the mud. And that means these kids are depending on baseball to be their source of education. Yes. Now with wrestling, he's the only African-American kid on the wrestling team. So now he has to understand what it's like to be looked at. When you go into your wrestling tournaments, everybody's looking at you because they're interested because you don't look like them. And so that brings a lot of anxiety. He still has to perform, and wrestling, it's a one-person sport. So those are some of the things that we have to deal with on both sides of the spectrum.
Yes. And I just want to encourage both of you as you navigate those different spaces and continue to be a first or one of the few, that we have to continue to tell ourselves it's about self-care and saying, I belong here and I am here as a front runner to open the door for many to come behind. And so I'm very proud of you two and just getting able to converse with you two. I mean, this is absolutely amazing because both of you are breaking just ground across the board. And I'm glad you talked about his academics, and I'm glad you talked about philanthropy, and I'm glad that you talked about him being in sports, and that people need to understand that as Black men, we are not only in sports and we are not just in academia, but we can do it all. And this is just a one of the many representations, and I'm glad that you all can go from school to school, but also, like you said, get on the Steve Harvey show and get your message out nationally, saying stop boxing us in and breaking down those stereotypes. It's absolutely amazing. So besides a book, do you all have anything coming up next? Are you just continuing on your mission? What's happening?
Oh man, it's been a lot going on. So COVID has brought about some change,
Yeah.
some positive, some negative, but we're gonna focus on the positive.
Yep.
So during the quarantine time, Austin and I were able to get out and still reach out to the homeless community. He created a song called "Pray for You." It's on YouTube.
Awesome. Okay.
And it's basically a song centered around um, helping out the marginalized and really showcasing the fact that, hey, Black lives do matter. And
Yeah.
before all lives matter, you have to understand that that Black people matter too, and we're inclusive. So that's a song called "Pray for You" that he did. It's on YouTube as well. And then the first song that he did was called "Stay Home with Me." And it was a song that was of inspiration for kids that were not in school, that were having to stay home and not be with their friends because of coronavirus. So
Right.
that was really cool. It was like an animated and real life version of something to educate the kids on some of the things that they can do at home, like play Connect Four, play hopscotch, play different word games, just to keep those creative juices going in their minds, and,
Exactly.
and show that, hey, just because we have a barrier, we can use that barrier as a stepping stone to our next step. So
it's 10:45.
Excuse that. Excuse me. Yes.
and on more of another note, we've been in talks with the Will and Jada Smith Family Foundation
Nice.
for
Oh,
some philanthropy work
love.
with them
Mhm.
as soon as some of the restrictions are released. And
Right.
then he also has a show being developed called Austin's Adventures. And what he does is he travels around to different places and asks questions. So, for example, we were in St. Louis, and he asked a few questions about the arch, and
Mhm.
the ark in St. Louis. We were in Seattle. We went to Pike Place Fish Market where they throw fish, and
Yes.
he asked questions about that. So it's a really cool concept that we're working on for the beginning of 2021. So again, we just redirecting the narrative.
Yes.
The Black father is not always the mad Black father,
Mhm.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we are boxed in as, oh, he's aggressive and angry.
Mhm.
Well, I want to be that parent to show that Black fathers can be compassionate as well.
Which you are definitely doing. And you brought up another great point, and something that is huge right now. This, cultural movement amongst the Black community. We have always talked about this in our homes, and now we are finally opening up our spaces for people to see what it's like on the inside. And you brought up Black Lives Matter, because Black lives do matter, and it's important that we do talk about that and emphasize that. And so, what I want to focus on particularly is you two, and what does that conversation look like in your home with your son when no one's around? And just to give people a view of how we have to fellowship amongst ourselves and in those spaces.
Yeah, I mean, even that question in itself brought chills to me because this is some of the things that we have to deal with at home.
Right.
So the first thing I did when everything started to surface
Mm-hmm.
with racial tension in our country was I showed him the video of George Floyd being on the ground and being held down by officer's knee. And so I asked Austin, so tell me about what you saw.
Yes.
I didn't try to influence his thoughts. I wanted to know what that looked like through the lens of a child.
Right.
And so I asked him,
Yeah.
and do you remember what you said? I
Do you-
remember. I just want to know if you remember.
Uh, I think I said I was scared.
Okay.
He did. And another thing that he said, first of all, he's already what?
Dead.
Yeah. He said,
And
first of all,
yeah,
he's
there were
already dead. So why is his knee still in his neck?
Mm.
And that
and one more time, how old are you, Austin?
6.
You're 6. And this is what we have to do to, I just want to remind people over and over, because I think people are desensitized because of social media, that 6 at such a young age that you had to watch and witness that. And that's a part of our reality. And how that makes us have to grow up a lot faster. Um,
and a lot of times I hear, oh, he's too young. Well, if he's young, if he's old enough to comprehend what's going on, then he's old enough for me to be real with him. And so
also,
I'd rather teach him rather than the streets teach him. I'd rather teach him rather than him being the next Emmett Till.
mhm. And
So
we have to also make people understand is that racism knows no age, and that it also plagues our educational system.
no age, because these kids are very intelligent. You
Mhm.
know, even on the other side of the spectrum, I have some of his Anglo-Saxon counterparts. They look at him and they touch his hair and they say, "Why is your hair not like ours?" You
Wow.
know, or there's another kid on the Braves team. What was his name? The brown kid. Uh, let's just say Dexter for lack of better terms. So they
Mhm.
say your hair is just like Dexter's. You
Wow.
know why is it not? And I'm sitting here watching this. So, but some things I can't intervene with. He has to be able to figure out and maneuver through on his own. So those are some of the times that we have to use at home to educate
This is
him
a prime
on.
example of you having to give him the language so he can communicate for himself and learn how to navigate those conversations. And that's exactly what I mean, is that it knows no age because of curiosity, and you don't know what other children are being taught in their
Right.
home.
If he's ignorant, how does he respond to that? If
Right.
he's never been spoken to about these issues, how does he respond to why does your hair look like that? You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
I don't want him to immediately start using his wrestling moves, you
Right.
know,
Right.
but
Right.
then I don't want him to immediately ball up and cry.
Exactly. Yes.
So there's a median that we have to work with,
Mm.
and working with that median is educating him, letting him watch the movie 42 about Jackie Robinson, letting him see what happened to George Floyd, letting him read on his own because he's a very good reader
Mm.
about what happened to Brianna. So these are some of the things that we have to have conversations with to make sure that we keep him alive for one.
Right. Exactly. And it's such a thing as, systemic racism and what's happening in education. A lot of times people don't understand there's covert racism in our history books. A lot of time in African American homes, we have African American cinema, we have African American books that we read, and we know that we exist throughout the narratives, throughout history, and then when we go into schools, we read these books and we're completely erased. And that's a type of trauma that isn't talked about as well. And
Yeah.
so that's why you have to equip your son.
Right. The Tulsa massacre is not even taught in school. So these
Right.
are
Oh
some of
my.
the things, you know, he didn't even know that there was a place called Black Wall Street. So we had to really educate him and say, hey, there was one point in time that there was a community of affluent African American or brown people that had everything that what is considered to be the American dream. So
Right.
um, just
Mhm.
to let him know that hey, these things are still possible.
Yes, yes, definitely. Well, I appreciate you all taking the time out. I can go on and on, but that I am on a time limit. They want me to kind of keep it short or whatnot. But before we wrap up, just to end on a positive note, once again, just remind us one more time your beautiful slogan of showing love. If you can remind us of that, and one more time, where people can reach you, find you, your YouTube, your books. I want you to list it all. Give it to us all one more time.
No, Austin, tell them the definition of show love. What does show love mean?
Show love means you care about someone no matter what they look like.
Nice. Awesome.
And his book can be found again at presidentaustin.net. He has a YouTube channel, Austin Perine, Perine. He has 2 songs that are available on all platforms that are very inspirational and kid friendly. And as far as his social media handles, President Austin Show Love on Instagram, and on Twitter it's President Perine, Perine.
Okay, awesome. I will go and follow myself on Instagram to keep up with you all and see what you all are doing in the future. And everyone out there, please continue following President Austin and his father, TJ. You all have been a blessing, peace and light to both of you. And I hope y'all are safe out there once things open back up and you all continue to change the world. All right.
Right.
It was good talking to y'all.
Peace, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.